All right, welcome back into the show, and I am super excited to be joined by my guy, Liam Flynn. Super excited to have him with me here virtually, but it feels like he's in the building. It feels like I'm with him, and Liam, I'm super excited to have you, man. I'm pumped that
Yeah,
you're here.
I'm super excited to be on. You know, we've been
Yes,
talking
sir.
ball for years. It's about time we got it recorded. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
grateful
Liam's
for you to have
Liam's
me
been
on
my
here.
best friend since like childhood, man. And
Yeah,
we
it's like
we had to
second grade,
we
bro.
had to get it on. We had
Had
to
to.
we had to start talking.
Yeah,
Um yeah, I'm super pumped. Let's get right into it here. Um so Liam, we're both Detroit Lions fans, right? You know,
yeah,
you're at Alabama University. I'm sure you're spreading that Detroit Lions like
yeah,
hype. You're on that hype train. It was
yeah.
a terrible loss for us in the
That was
playoffs.
brutal. That was probably the worst night in recent memory when we got
Yeah.
smoked. When we getting like, yeah, that was a bad night. I did not. That was a bad week. I did not take that loss well because all year I was hyping up the Lions. We had an amazing regular season. I was talking so much to all my friends, like, oh, we're winning the Super Bowl. It's in the bag, dude. This is our year, finally. And then first game, first round of the playoffs that we play in, just
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was brutal,
devastating.
man. Like I remember watching it, having it on, and like right when our cornerback Amik Robertson goes down at the beginning of the game, I'm just like, man, this could be a long game. This might be
Yeah,
rough, you
yeah.
know. Yeah. I mean,
It's
so
funny you
here's
say that I'm spreading it around at Alabama because my roommate right now, he grew up like in LA, didn't have a
uh
team until the Chargers and Rams moved in a few years ago. But
yeah.
he said he didn't want to become a Rams fan because their first year in LA they won a Super Bowl or whatever,
Uh
so he would have felt like a bandwagon. And so
yeah.
since we watched every game together last year, every game together this year, like he could feel my passion. He's a Lions fan
That's
because of
awesome.
me. And
That's
then
awesome.
also, speaking of the playoff game, I was at work
Uh-huh.
and I just sat down in front of one of the TVs because I work at a bar. And
Mhm.
my bosses, they didn't expect me to do anything while the game was on. If they ever wanted me to like move something or take care of something, they were like, "Yo, after this drive, like next commercial break, can you go put these cups upstairs?"
That's
And then,
amazing.
yeah, I know. And then still to this day, they give me some, they talk a little smack about the Lions losing because they know how hard I took it.
Oh man. Oh man. That's tough. That is tough. It's brutal when people are like talking smack to you.
Yeah.
For me, like I got a couple teammates on the team that are like Packers fans and grew up in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So those guys like right after like they just had the biggest smile on their face and like I knew what they were thinking. They knew what I was thinking. I was just like, yeah, don't talk to me today.
Don't need it from you. Don't need it from
Exactly.
you.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, centering on the game a little bit. I have a question to a lot of Lions fans about like what your reaction was to the loss and what you think we could like improve on like going into next year, right? So we lose both of our coordinators, and now we're sitting here. It was a disappointing loss. But my question to you is, do you think we lost more because of our defense getting injured or more because of Jared Goff not stepping up to the standard and like getting us through anyway?
I think, I mean, obviously it's a little mix of both, but I do think it's mostly the defense. I
Okay.
mean, like, you can't control injuries, you can't game plan for injuries. The fact that we had, like, such a skeleton of a defensive roster, Hutch going down is the big one. Like, that just happened over the accumulation of the entire regular season. Like, you can't control that. And so that's
Yeah.
just the bad luck of the NFL. And then Goff not stepping up. I mean, like, yeah, he had some crucial turnovers. He had a couple bad picks, but like, our offense still put up 30 something points. It's not bad. That's about on average for how our offense did all year long. So
Mhm.
the fact that like you can't putting up 30 points in a loss, like you can't pin all of that on the offense, especially not the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree completely. Like, I was on the same page with you. Like, I thought right when Robinson went down, we were done. And that's because like of the fact that Daniels was throwing unbelievable balls like
Yeah,
throughout the whole game, and I was just like, man, if our defense isn't going to stop them a little bit, like I love Goff, I think he's awesome. Before we got on, I did my intro and I ranked him 10th best quarterback in the NFL, and that's really really good. You're in the top 10 in quarterbacks. But the
yeah,
thing is that I kind of talked about is like, okay, there's like a tier one and a tier two. Goff's like close, but he's not even on that tier two level, like he's high tier three. He's a guy that he's like above average. He's what you want, but like there's so many other guys that could get you like back in the game.
yeah. I think he's the right guy for the system. He's an amazing
Yeah.
game manager. He's exactly who we needed him to be to lead us
Hmm.
to an NFC championship last year and a 15-2 regular season this year. But I don't think he's a game changer. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this all year. Well, not all year, but like I've been saying this. I think every throw that Jared Goff makes, Hendon Hooker could also make. But I mean, I saw Hendon Hooker when he played against Alabama in
Yeah.
college, and there's some throws that he can make that I don't think Jared Goff can make, and that's just our own backup. So obviously, for other QBs in the league, like Jared Goff is an amazing system QB, but I just don't think that he's an amazing like a elite arm talent in the league.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that 100%. Um, Hendon Hooker, I'm not the biggest fan of,
Yeah,
and that's just me. Like I've watched him play, and yes, he's looked good in the preseason and things like that. But like Tennessee quarterbacks in the past have just not really worked out, right? I
yeah,
mean, like we saw Joe Milton go from Michigan and look like trash, and then he got to Tennessee and he looked awesome because Josh Heupel's system makes you look so good. He just highlights everything about you, right?
yeah. I mean
And
that same thing with. I think that's the same as the Jared or as the Ben Johnson effect.
yeah, yeah,
Like I think Ben Johnson made Jared Goff look a lot better than he was. So
yeah, no,
that's just the example I would use, for our own team because like I'm not necessarily high on Hendon Hooker. He's pretty old for a
yeah,
second year backup QB and
yeah,
everything, but that's just he's the local like comparison. So
yeah, no,
that's why I
and
say
that's
that.
completely fair. Yeah,
Well,
that's
in terms of
completely
Tennessee
fair.
QBs, that dude Peyton Manning wasn't too bad.
Yeah, yeah, that's going a little too far back for me. I
Yeah,
wasn't watching him in
yeah,
college, so but yeah, he wasn't bad at all. He wasn't bad at all. Dude, Alabama's been having it rough with Tennessee recently, like
yeah,
losing this year, and
yeah.
yeah,
One loss in the Saban era, and it just had to be when I was a freshman. And then yeah,
yeah, yeah,
going on the road, going to Neyland. I mean, going to any stadium away game in the SEC is tough, but especially when
hmm
you're first year, uh, DeBoer, like in his first year going to Neyland,
yeah,
it was disappointing for sure, but like I don't know, it's
yeah.
it's tough to go, especially with how much they hate Alabama. They hate us
uh
so bad that like I can only imagine the pressure that the team was under.
Yeah, and that Tennessee team, I mean, they were a playoff team. They were a really, really good
Yeah,
team this year. So, not much you can do there. And I'm watching their dude the basketball in the SEC right now is just ridiculous right
hmm
now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
But getting back to NFL, okay? Uh the Lions, let's look at them next year. Okay, I want to ask you the question about like where you see them next year. So we lose Ben Johnson, we lose Aaron Glenn. Okay, do you think losing these coordinators? I mean, probably going to make us worse. Blah blah blah. But do you expect us to be like a crazy amount worse, or do you expect us to be still near the top of the NFC?
yeah. I think we'll be a wild card team. Like I don't think we're still definitely going to be a playoff team, but I don't. We're not going to be the same as we were like number one seed, winning the NFC North handedly. Like, well, I guess not handedly. We did come down to the last game, but
Yeah.
um, like I don't think we're going to be on the same level as we were last year. But I do think that we're going to be above average, probably 10-7, 11-6. You know, I think that Ben Johnson leaving is going to be the bigger loss, like because our offense was so explosive this year that
Mhm.
like they say best defense is a good offense, and so
Yeah.
that's what took us as far as it did in the regular season. And I think that he just knows the game so well that, especially him going to the Bears, a team we're going to have to play 2 years, is going to make it tough to bounce back. You know,
Yeah.
and I think Aaron Glenn leaving, like he definitely we were pretty good defense, especially considering what we had
Mm.
in terms of injuries. We're kind of diminished, but I think that the biggest loss is going to be on the offensive side of the ball, and I just my hopes aren't as high for next year. I think that we're going to be still above average, still a playoff team, but I'm not sure that we're going to be the same beast we were this year. We aren't going to be juggernauts.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Like losing the coordinators is always a tough blow. I mean, we saw what it did to the Eagles in the past, right? Like the Eagles went from the 1 seed to the 5 seed and then lost in the first round, right? I don't think it's going to be that drastic for the Lions. I still think we're the favorites in the NFC North. Like I really do.
Yeah,
I think we have the fifth best Super Bowl odds right now to win it next year.
well, Vegas knows
So
everything, so
yeah, well, I mean,
yeah,
I
they
guess
know. They certainly know more than you and I.
they
But
definitely do. They definitely do. So I mean, and I talked about it on my last episode when I was reacting to Super Air. No, it was the one before that. But I said with the Lions, I think Ben Johnson leaving isn't too bad just because of the fact that Dan Campbell actually is the guy that brought Ben Johnson in. Ben Johnson's not from another tree. Like Ben Johnson's not from the Kyle Shanahan tree or anything like that. Like
mhm.
Ben Johnson is from the Dan Campbell tree.
Yeah,
And the Dan Campbell tree stems from Sean Payton. And we went over and got our new offensive coordinator is the Broncos passing game coordinator. So I don't think our offense is going to drop off as much as people think. I think Ben Johnson did an unbelievable job and setting the stage. I am concerned with the point that you brought up with him being with the Bears and him understanding that system and being able to slow it down. I am a little concerned about that. I don't know if they have the personnel to like kind of make it happen, but I think it'll be interesting there. I don't see us being 15-2. I think that was just a crazy fluky kind of we're playing every game indoors kind of situation.
yeah,
I think the
yeah.
stat was we
We had a
played like
pretty
13 games indoors, which is crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had a
But
pretty soft schedule this year. Like outside of our conference games, our schedule wasn't too tough. And I looked the schedule coming up next year is going to be brutal.
yeah. Yeah.
And so I think we're going to be our record might not be as good, but we're definitely going to be more battle tested. So when it does come time for playoffs, there's a lot less pillow fights in the regular season. So we can actually, we know what it's like to face a playoff team, which we didn't
Yes.
see too many this year.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, that's perfect. Like we're going to be battle tested and that's how you win playoff games. Like well 2 years ago or however you want to say it, when we made the NFC Championship, we were battle tested, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
were able to win those games and be able to take that next step. I think the only team that really scares me is if the Eagles bring everybody back because they're just unreal. Like there's talent all over the place. But I don't think anybody else scares me. Does anybody else scare you if going into next year?
I mean, only in terms of the NFC North, I think the Packers, they're probably going to
Packers.
be, I think, because just they've been year over year getting better. Caleb Love is looking good. Um, I think that like they're the in division team that I'm worried about. But no, I don't think not. There's no one that really sticks out to me. Yeah, that seems like a real threat in the NFC.
It's fair. It's completely fair. All right, so let's jump through some NFL stuff. We're gonna do a little season recap, kind of talking about it. So, Super Bowl. Okay, your reaction? Eagles dominate the Chiefs. All right, were you
No,
expecting that at all,
not
or
at all. I don't think anyone in America is expecting that.
yeah?
Like the way that the Eagles came out so strong, and they just like their defense snuffed the Chiefs in something like that. I've never seen the Chiefs offense like in a big game get just controlled like that
Mm,
in the past, like in this era, in this like dynasty that they have. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what the Eagles figured out, but they did, and they got their offense working. They had the run game. Jalen Hurts was doing a good job running the ball. Saquon, obviously a beast. They found the chinks in the armor and
Yeah.
they exploited them, and that's what led to the game, the massive victory.
Yeah. No, it was actually wild to watch. Like I was kind of shell shocked, like watching that first half and just watching the Chiefs have no answers. Like they couldn't get off the ball. Like Mahomes like would try to create a play, he'd try to step up, and then right away he'd just get hit.
Yeah,
It
he was
was
doing a good job scrambling. I was telling someone I was watching it with, I was like, dude, he looks like a Johnny Manziel highlight tape right now.
yeah,
Like, he was
yeah,
he was getting out of the pocket, and he had good mobility. He just like couldn't extend the play downfield.
yeah,
Like, he couldn't get the ball into a receiver's hands properly. So it
yeah.
was very impressive from the Eagles. It was shell shock is a good word. It felt surreal watching it. I was like,
Mhm.
that's not like that. No way in a million years is that what I would have expected the game to look like.
Yeah, yeah. You were a big Brady guy, right? So are you
Yeah.
like threatened by this Chiefs dynasty or no?
I mean, I kind of just liked him because, he went to Michigan, grew up a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think anyone's touching his legacy. I mean,
Okay.
7 Super Bowls, that's that's unattainable. That's like Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points in a game. Like, I don't think anyone, that's in the NFL right now is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Um, And I think that was, some of the jokes that I was making, people around me were making, like, oh, if they set up a 30-point comeback, then do you think Mahomes tops Brady in the GOAT conversation because of his 25-point comeback, in a quarter and a half?
Yeah.
But I think even if he did mount a 31-point comeback or whatever in the second half, I would still put Brady ahead of Mahomes.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. Like I was talking about it beforehand. Kind of thinking that like if the Chiefs win, I feel like the only thing you could say is like, okay, you can have the argument now. Like it's okay to have the argument.
Yeah,
But like I was still gonna put Brady ahead, and I'm a big Mahomes guy,
yeah,
and I was still gonna put Brady ahead by like a landslide, and it would take like two more Super Bowls for me to say, okay, Mahomes is better, you know. But the three-peat just would have given him so much more of an edge, but
yeah, that's
kind of
true.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that Brady and his like leadership and the dude like everyone talks about how he's just a psycho about winning. He's like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan level obsessed with winning. And I
Mhm.
think that no one else is probably going to top him unless they do like follow in his footsteps of taking a pay cut so that you can elevate the team around you. And I
Yeah.
think Mahomes with his massive contract, I don't think because yeah, when he signed it, they were good for the couple years after. Then they restructured a bunch of people's deals, and that's how they were able to get two in a row, make a third appearance. But I think now is when the chickens are coming home to roost contract wise, and they just don't have the money to buy him receivers or linemen or like whatever he needs to defense, like the tools that he needs to win 7 Super Bowls like Tom
Yeah.
Brady did.
Yeah. No, I think you're dead on. I mean, the Chiefs are kind of getting older and falling apart. Like especially that O line, as you could see, like it just wasn't playing to the high enough standard that it needed
Yeah.
to in that kind of game.
And it was
So
the same thing. I can't remember, but when Brady beat Mahomes in the
yeah,
Super Bowl, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't remember if that was injuries or if that was just because, their O line was like not as
yeah.
good.
That was injuries.
That was
They had a
injuries. That's what I
couple of
thought.
yeah, they had a couple of
Yeah.
linemen injured, and
But
the
I just remember in that Super
defense
Bowl
was
too.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That Tampa Bay defense was insane. But I just remember that like yeah, the O line was struggling in that game. That's what helped the Bucks beat the Chiefs, and that's
hmm
what helped Brady beat Mahomes. But I think just I think to me Tom Brady's a goat,
yeah.
and it's almost insurmountable.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on there, and it makes it definitely tougher for Mahomes right now, to
Mhm.
keep up for sure. So
Yeah,
moving on, So just as a casual NFL fan, you're more of a Lions fan. So I wanted to
Huge Lions.
center on that one. But as you were watching just on a Sunday, if you were to flip on, right, and the Lions aren't on, was there one team that you were like, man, I like watching them play like throughout the season?
Yeah, I think probably the Ravens.
Okay.
The Ravens they're another explosive offense like the Lions. Lamar Jackson is just an insane playmaker. He the way he can throw and run and just do everything it seems like. And then he also had weapons. He had Zay Flowers, you know, like they just to me they were one of the more exciting teams to watch. Like when I yeah, you're right. I'm more casual for teams that aren't the Lions. I kind of just watch highlight reels and stuff. I
Hmm.
feel like I see the Ravens a lot because and they were just because they had so many tools in their offense.
Yeah, yeah. Like historically on the show, I haven't been the biggest Lamar Jackson supporter, but he has just gotten better and better like every single year, and it's been really, really impressive for me. Like
Yeah,
I just ranked him before the show from I think I had him 4 last year. Now I have him 3 over Burrow, in the top 10 ranking for me, and he just keeps getting better. Like he was threw 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. I think he probably should have won the MVP. Near the end of the year, he just played a lot better than Josh Allen, and the
yeah.
Ravens.
I feel like I remember looking at like their side by side stat comparisons, and his stats were better too.
Yeah,
So
no, the stats aren't even close,
yeah,
because the Bills went more run game, which kind of hurts Josh Allen in the stat wise. But I mean that it just turns into kind of a popularity contest. That's kind of what the MVP's turned
yeah,
into. Like Jokic won't win in the MVP this year, even though he probably should. But it's just because they don't want to give 3 times to the same player.
yeah.
You know
Voter fatigue is definitely a big thing. But
exactly.
yeah, like you said, how Lamar just keeps getting better every year because in his first MVP year and when he started, climbing the ranks as a NFL QB, people were saying, "Oh, he's just a running back,"
Yeah.
all this stuff. But he's, you know, beat those allegations. Like he has improved his passing game immensely.
Hmm. Yeah. No, and the thing that's impressive is like just the winning percentage is just out of control. He wins like all of his regular season games. It's actually like wild. I've never seen a percentage like that. The only thing I want from him is to show up in the playoffs now. Like
Yeah,
that's the only thing he's got to do. And he's had some wins, but they're games like they're supposed to win, right? So you're looking at it now, and it's just like, all right, like, can you take the next step? Can you win a game where maybe other people will pick the other team? Like for me, what I thought with the Ravens the last 2 years, okay, they were better than the Chiefs when they had the home game against them, and they still lost that game. And then they were better than the Bills this year, even though they were on the road in Buffalo, and they lost both of those games. So to me, that hurts. That kills you. Like
yeah,
that's why it's an argument between him and Burrow hasn't made the playoffs the past 2 years. And it's just because Burrow, when he made the playoffs, took advantage and made the Super Bowl, right?
mhm,
And then when it's Lamar Jackson, he hasn't. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's gotten so much better as a thrower, especially. Like his deep ball is really accurate, and he's creating great plays. But to me, like I just hope he can figure out the playoff thing, and maybe somebody can top Mahomes next year.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the same breath, like the way that Josh Allen has responded to
Yep.
criticism as well. Because I remember in the offseason seeing some ESPN segment about like, oh, is Josh Allen really elite? Like he throws too many
Hmm.
picks, like all this stuff. And this year he came back and he cleaned it up. He stopped throwing as
Yep.
many picks, and looked what happened. The team was amazing. He won the MVP. I mean, like, so I think if it's going to be anyone to beat the Chiefs, it probably will be the Bills, just
Yeah.
because Josh Allen is such a dog.
I like that. I like that take. I mean, the Bills were so close this year, so close. Um, like it just seems like the Chiefs kind of have their number right now and are just in their head. But like it's kind of like the old NBA things that we'd see. Like the Pistons had to get over the Celtics, and then the Bulls had to get over the Pistons. You know,
And
it feels like that kind of thing, right? Which is kind of cool that it's in the NFL now, and we're kind of growing up on it.
yeah,
You know, so I
yeah. We
think it's
telling our
interesting.
kids about the Chiefs Bills rivalries.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we might be. We might be. That might be that Celtics Pistons rivalry or
yeah,
whatever. We just need the Lions to start
yeah. We just
having a
need the
rivalry.
Lions. Yeah, I hope it turns into Lions Eagles. You know, and
Yeah,
us coming out on top.
that would be awesome. That would be awesome. That's what I'm hoping for. All right, last question before I get you out of here. But so I want to talk about just some players. Okay, 3 players that stood out to you this season. For me, if I had to list 3 players, and I did a lot of like draft stuff, and these are 2 guys I was very low on. I did not like them as much. But Bo Nix at the quarterback position on the Broncos really, really impressed me this year. Um, I thought he was just going to be very average, like not that good. Broncos were a playoff team, and Sean Payton knows exactly what he's doing. He's just a
Yeah,
stud coach, and
yeah. I
they were
wasn't
great.
expecting much out of Bo Nix either, to be completely honest. But yeah,
Yeah,
he definitely surprised me taking taking that Broncos team to the
I
playoffs.
know. I know.
Where
It was
last year they
impressive.
were not so hot.
Yeah, last year they were pretty bad. So that was just super impressive to me. And then my other 2, Malik Neighbors, I thought he was really good coming out. I didn't think he was this good. This guy is just a monster. I mean, taking fantasy teams at the beginning of the year by storm. I mean, he was incredible. I wish the Giants were better, and I wish they were actually good television because I would have watched him way more because he's unreal. And then the Vikings defense. Like I think that was the reason that they were 14-3 this year. Because of what Brian Flores did with that defense. Like they were incredible throughout the whole year.
Hmm.
Disappointing loss to the Rams, but overall, I think the Vikings are, if they keep Flores, I think they're scary moving on to next year, no matter who their quarterback is, if it's Darnold or if it's JJ McCarthy. What do you think about the Vikings defense this year?
I think, yeah, they exceeded expectations. I mean, I think their season win total at the beginning of the year was, Vegas had like 6.5,
Yep. Yep.
and the fact that they went 14-3 is in large part because of their defense. You know, the way that
Yeah.
they stepped up was, yeah, you're right. It's something I didn't see. It's worthy of being on the list of, you know, exceeding expectations.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So what do you got? What do you got that stood out to you from this season?
I think, I mean, this is a big one, but Saquon Barkley,
Yep.
yeah, obviously, I mean, he was an elite RB. Everyone knew that. Like, I would have told you that last season. I would have told you that
Hmm.
since he's been drafted. But the way that he moved, like, made the transition to the Eagles and stepped up and had a historic year was impressive. That was fun to watch. It was good to see
Hmm.
that. And, because moving from the Giants to Eagles in division rivalry, that whole thing, like, all the Giants fans were pissed, but it was good to see him finally. It kind of seemed like he finally came into his own. Like he just stepped up and started performing in a way that we all knew he could.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a stud. He's a stud. I mean, it was so much fun watching him. The backwards hurdle, like, come on,
Yeah,
like that
that
stuff's just
play, yeah,
ridiculous.
insane. That
Yeah.
play alone is one of like probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in an
Yeah.
NFL
Yeah.
game.
It's wild. That's wild. Wild. All right. What else you got?
I think I'm gonna have to give the nod to Josh Allen. I mean,
Yeah.
another big name, but the way that he stepped up, and like I said, mostly because of the way he faced the criticism, and he grew. Like
Hmm.
he had an amazing year this year, and I think he led that Bills team, even though they lost Stephon Diggs. He still proved that it wasn't just Stephon, like it was him.
Yeah.
And that he just had just an incredible year. It was fun to watch again. I don't know. It's just yeah, he's a great player, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah, no, I think a perfect example of what you're talking about from the season was in the divisional game against the Ravens, where I think it was the semifinal one, but when they had like a fourth and goal and they were doing a QB sneak, right? and it didn't look like he was going to get in. And you could see like his eyes instinctively look to pitch the ball behind him, like to the running back, like look to pitch. And
Yeah.
last year, Josh Allen, like the year before, probably would have pitched that ball and it would have ended up being a fumble and it would have been recovered by the defense. And it would have been a turnover. This year, like he went to do it and then he tucked it and got pushed by one of his O linemen and he ended up in the end zone. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just like some of those plays where it's just like that just
Yeah.
shows you that the quarterback
Those are,
grew, you
yeah, the
know.
difference makers. Those are
Yeah.
like, yeah, the way that he took it upon himself was like, all right, I need to lead this team, and he did. He stepped up. He did an amazing job this year. Couldn't get all the way, but I think there's definitely much more to come from this Bills team.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I agree completely. You got one more for me?
Yeah, I think it'd have to be the Lions running back room. Both, you
Love
know,
it.
Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. They just the way that like they're a 1-2 punch this year. Like they're the perfect dichotomy of speed back and power back. That
Sonic and
like
Knuckles.
yeah, Sonic and Knuckles. Like
Yeah.
teams just didn't have an answer. Like it's like nearly impossible to game plan. And like something I heard is that they would give them the exact same run, but the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, their difference in running style is what would make is why it looks so different
Yeah.
because they're just two different athletes, to like have their own different strengths that they like. I don't know, they were just electric. It was
Yeah.
awesome to watch because, like, I guess it's kind of boring to say that a running team, doing that well. But the thing is, when the team runs that well, sure, it's like old school football, but like, it's
Dude,
just
it's fun to watch. I mean,
it's
like
so much fun to watch.
I don't care what anybody says. I
Yeah,
mean, like the
deep
Lions
balls, deep balls to JMO are sick, but like,
exactly. Exactly. Like the
when you
Lions are
can just
gonna
hand the ball off to Jameer and he like bounces around the tackle, just
yeah.
pops off like a 30-yard run,
Yeah,
and then
he's an athletic freak. He's an
he's
athletic
insane.
freak. It's crazy. Like Gibbs near the end of the season was unreal, and then Monty to start the year was just incredible. You know,
Yeah,
it was killer to see him like
to see
banged up
Montgomery get it
at
done.
the end. You know, like I
Yeah,
think that really hurt, and it hurt his value to us. But
definitely.
I mean, like, gosh, our offense was so much fun. Like we're pulling Penny Sewell like
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
We're
because
moving.
then when you set that foundation of like, okay, we can run it down your throat, we can run through your
Yep.
face, then that
Mm-hmm.
opens up the trick plays,
Yep.
and that is where the exciting football comes in. And
Exactly.
we can't do that if we don't have two beasts that we have in the backfield.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I agree completely. Well, Liam, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy to have you on. But before you go, I want to ask you one more question. Okay. Lions next season. Do you have a record prediction? Just off top of your head, first thing
Yeah,
that comes to your mind.
I mean, I kind of said this earlier, but I said between 10-7 or 11-6. I'm going to go 11-6 because I
Love
want
it.
to be more
Okay.
hopeful, more
Yeah.
optimistic.
You should be. You
I
should be.
honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's better than that. See another 12-5 season or better would be nice,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I think this year is going to test Dan Campbell's ball knowledge a lot because he's a vibes guy completely. Like he
Yeah.
has the team, the fan base, every NFL fan ready to run through a wall, like with his speeches and everything. Like he's just
Mm-hmm.
such a vibes guy. And he gets the team fired up. I just don't know how much he actually knows the game, and I think this will be the test. And I obviously he knows a lot of ball. If you're going to be an NFL head coach, like I'm not trying to sit here and say I know anything better than him, right? But like I'm just saying that it'll put him to the test to see how great of a head coach he really is. And I think if he performs well, we might win the NFC North again. But either way, I'm pretty sure the Lions will be a playoff team. So I'm saying 11-6.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, Liam, I really appreciate you coming on the pod, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Of course. It's been a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank
All
you
right.
guys so much for listening, watching, wherever you're at. Go give us those 5 stars on Spotify, like the show on YouTube, and I'll be back at you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.